the last one is you need to be careful of the friends you keep, guys. Like, it's important that you actually have friends that will encourage you to keep going, because you can't avoid failure in varsity. Trust me, you are going to fail, right? And when that happens, you need people that are going to encourage you and tell you that you can do it. Just go back, look at the mistakes that you've done, and try again. You know, you don't need those people that will tell you that, yeah, we told you, external science is difficult and all of that and all of that. You don't need that.
Okay, this is it. This is the Student Plug, where we actually talk everything student support and development. I was about to say Kabaribe Baba, fire! Because as you speak...
I think that's caused by, you know, when you're from home, your parents will just tell you, varsity, shouldn't do anything else. You know, so that's
100%. No, you can really excel. Everyone can do it. It's not about how smart you are. Get the right plans in place, and there's no reason why you shouldn't give record time, finish your course.
Yeah, like as I was saying, to say that, you know, like I like a point that you actually pointed out, that actually sometimes it's not like a one-on-one, but sometimes it's like, you know, just, you know, identifying someone of how they do things or everything like that, and then actually just following that. Then it goes into knowing what you want, isn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Because okay.
I think sometimes you don't know what you want
until
you discover, you stumble upon it. So it's not always, I think it's just maybe wanting the knowledge or just wanting guidance in general. Then you can be able to find something that you actually want.
Sure. No, I totally agree with you. So now let's talk in the student space, right? And, you know, and one thing that I know about mentorship is that you have different sort of types of disciplines of mentorship. Like you can have someone who mentors you purely on academic things, or someone mentors you maybe on work-related things, and you know, and stuff. But I always find that it always overlaps. It even gets into personal stuff, you know, even if maybe started from an academic perspective and everything like that. If a student says to you, like, why do I need a mentor? Is it important to need a mentor? Like, I've got this, you know, I'm a top student, I can study these things, you know, like I'm getting distinctions and stuff like that. What would you say to such a student?
I mean, if you don't feel like you need a mentor, you can't really force someone and be like, you actually need this. But I think it also goes back to realizing that at the point where you are in life, you probably, like you said, you probably think you know what's going to happen when you start working or when you graduate and all those things. So it's just a matter of maybe just give it a try and see if you can actually learn something that you probably do not know. And if you still feel like you're okay, you're a top student, you'll be fine, then it's fine. I don't think anyone should be forced to have a mentor, but we definitely don't know everything.
True.
So it's just a matter of if it's something that you don't want, you can't force anyone. Because also another problem that we have with our students is that they think mentorship is one-sided, when I as a mentor need to constantly check up on you, do things for you, and you don't have to give anything back. So once you find someone who feel like they don't need mentorship, they are fine, it's hard to get them to actually contribute and play their part. So it's just a matter of you can't force anyone to want something if they feel like they don't need it, but you can always make them aware that you might actually need it, because we don't always know everything.
Yeah. Well, what kind of mentors do you think students need? Definitely somebody who's academic. I think students do need that, you know, someone within the space. I always advise, like, especially first years, to be like, because you find that maybe you're struggling with course, and like find a senior student who can mentor you through that course. So like a mentorship which is course related and everything like that. But you know, as we move as students, sometimes then we start to apply for jobs and everything like that, and you start to realize, well, actually I need some information and everything. It would have been better if I had a mentor who's incorporated while I'm still a student, so that I know how I maneuver. Just touch base on that. Like what kind of mentors can you recommend, you know, to a student?
I think if you're a student, if you're in high school, you probably need someone who is in their early years of varsity so that they can actually guide you. And if you're in varsity, like you said, you need someone who's a senior. But even if you're in varsity, you can get someone who's in corporate. It really helps because you get a different perspective. They have much more experience and they can actually help you out. For me, I have one specific mentor who's been with me since I was in high school, and she's been in corporate. So she has been a mentor to me with high school, varsity. She tells me what happened in corporate and what I should do once I get there. She is my mentor when it comes to my personal life. When I'm sick, I go to her. When I have personal issues, I go to her. So like you said, it sort of like overlaps. So it's hard to, because even with the way I do my mentorship, it normally overlaps. We are going to touch on your personal life. Not that I'm going to force you to tell me what happens in your personal life, but we're going to touch on it because it somehow affects you. It affects everything else that goes on in your life. If things are not okay at home, for example, chances are you're not going to perform as you normally would if things were okay. So I sort of have to come there and just help you out if I can, or support you, or give you the advice that I can give you. So it for me, it's not that structured because it normally overlaps. Hence now with Frank, I've been mentoring him since he was in grade 10.
Wow.
So now it's like we've been together. I don't see myself as his mentor because he has helped me with a lot of things as well.
Sure.
Like he has supported me. He has given me advice sometimes. So it ends up becoming that fruitful relationship where both of you actually end up benefiting from that. So that is most of my mentees are now not necessarily my friends, but we are able to feed off each other. So for me, it's a structure is something that we just have it in the mentorship program because some people just get into it because they want that structure and they don't want anyone to like get into their space and all those things. But for me, I'm okay with building a relationship. We are now siblings. We are going to share everything. We are going to help each other. If you are able to help me, you are going to be able to help me. And when I'm able to help you, I help you. So all of the mentorship relationships that I've had are at that point now where we are just like siblings.
Yeah, and I like that because it does get to that point whereby like it's now a two-way street. It started as a one-way street where you as the mentor, you are the one who actually like try to guide and everything like that, and it goes to a point. And I think you made this point. I was listening to your podcast, not your podcast, but the podcast that you've on by Mbukle, Monday Mishan.
So impressed.
And he said exactly that, to say that sometimes you get into it as a mentor and you also still learn, from the whole experience, because sometimes you have people who are big-headed, sorry to use that word, and they get into it and now you find that the mentorship relationship is very toxic, because now you have this mentor who's like, I'm a know-it-all. You can't tell me, okay, you need to do it like this. You don't do it like this and everything like that. What should students look for in a mentor? Like if I'm a student and I need a mentor, what are some of the fundamental things that I must look out for? I think character is also something that in my personal view, I think is also very much important. But what are some of the other things that perhaps students should look out for, or anyone who needs a mentor for that matter?
I think the first thing is you need to look at, the small things that people would think it doesn't matter, like a person in whom you're going to be comfortable with in terms of gender. If you feel like having a female mentor is not going to serve you, then get a male mentor, because if you feel like you're going to relate better to them and you're going to be open to them, then that's okay. You should consider such things. Look at if it's a person who is at a point where you probably want to be, and if it's a person where you're definitely going to learn something from them. And also consider the objective that you have for the mentorship, because in as much as it can end up being like a good relationship where I think it's very important to start with okay, I need a mentor because I want to graduate. And in order to graduate, I need someone who is, they're able to study. They have like better study methods than me because of their experience and all those things. So those are the things that you need to look at. So that even if because I don't believe that all mentorship relationships are meant to last forever. They're probably gonna end at some point. So you need to get to a point where you have learned as much as you can and you have achieved your objective. But also just looking at someone who, I think, consider the person's time as well, because some people really do not have time. And this is where that distance mentorship comes from. If it's someone that you probably admire, but they're out there, you can actually get that mentorship from a distance. So consider the person's time. Do you believe that the person is going to be able to have the time to help you out? I think it's also important to consider it before you approach them so that you don't get disappointed, because I know people who have approached others like, can you be my mentor? They're like, no, I can't because I don't have the time. And also, it's not, you don't necessarily need to give anything, but also consider the place that you at. Are you going to be able to live up and give whatever that you're getting? Like if you say you want to graduate, are you willing to put in the effort? Are you willing to put in the work? So I think that is also something that is important to consider when you're actually looking for a mentor. But in general, just the objective of the mentorship, what you hope to achieve, and yeah.
Yeah, and I think you really touched on a lot of things, And as you're talking, I'm thinking about this in my head, like in most situations or in any relationship. This is funny. This is funny because as I was thinking about it, I was like, like in any relationship, like I like making examples with romantic relationships, right? Because I think this is what people like to talk about and stuff. You find that, or the thing that is always said is that as partners, is all of you, it's all your responsibility to make this thing work. If you start to lean on other persons and the other one is not doing the work, then there are some things that are it's gonna be problematic and everything like that. And I view everything like that. A friendship is a relationship. I think even a mentorship is a relationship, So sometimes you find that the whole responsibility is actually dumped to the mentor, and the mentee is just there following and everything like that. And now when the mentor, because sometimes there are beats and everything like that, then you miss the steps and everything like that. What are the responsibilities that as a mentee you should actually have to make this whole thing work as well?
I think the first important thing is to do your part.
Sure.
Do your part. If I'm mentoring you course-wise, you need to also do your part and study. You need to be able to follow up with me. If you come to me for advice, maybe, and I'm advising you that, okay, this is how you can study. You need to go and try it, then come back and be like, okay, I tried it and this is what happened. Oh no, it didn't work. Let's, come up with something else. You can't expect me to be like, hi, did you try it? Like, did it work? Do you need us to do something else? So I think also maybe try to initiate things with your mentor. Don't wait for the mentor to actually be like, are you okay? I saw this and that. Try to initiate things with them. Be like, okay, this is what I'm doing and I need help with X and Y. Can you please help me? Don't wait for the mentor to be like, are you free to meet? Just also initiate that conversation like, okay, since we agreed, maybe if we have an agreement, since we agreed that we will meet whichever once a month, if you can see Hore Fela and you haven't met, be like, I'm seeing that we were supposed to meet and nothing has happened. Are you able to meet? Do you have the time to meet? So I think it's really just playing your part and taking initiative, because at the end of the day, you are the one as a mentee who's supposed to benefit from the relationship. So it is your responsibility to make sure that you get whatever that you need to get out of the mentor, so that it does not become a relationship alluring. Because I've had people who complain, someone approached them and they were like, can you be my mentee? And that was it. Nothing happened afterwards, because they were actually waiting for the mentor to be like, so yeah, I'm your mentor. What is it that I should do? Because they don't take initiative. And they just love the idea of having a mentor. Like if I can say, yo, I have my mentor is the CEO of X and Y, then it gives me some sort of like, oh, you mentored by CEO, but they don't consider that you actually have to do something, because just because you're being mentored by CEO doesn't mean that you're going to be a CEO. You need to actually put in the work in order to be that CEO as well. So I think it's really your responsibility as a mentee is to play your part and take initiative and make sure that you get whatever that you want to get, because at the end of the day, it's about you mostly. That is what the relationship is about. And I think with the different forms of relationships, with the mentor-mentee relationship, there's the exception that you're not expected to do as much as the other relationships, because you literally just need to live your life and do the best that you can, and your mentor will most likely be happy with that.
Sure. How did you find your mentor? I mean, this person has mentored you from from high school, varsity, and everything like that. How did you go about it? You saw her and be like, hey, I think I like this lady, approached her? Because those are some of the things, because sometimes we must understand that, especially sometimes when I talk to first years, because they still have confidence issues, just walking to someone and be like, I want you to be my mentor. For them, it's actually very intimidating and stuff like that. So with you from high school and everything like that, did she discover you, or you like, hey, you need to come, me and you,
Remember, we used to have a lot of things going on at school.
Sure.
Like we would go and meet whoever. So I was that person who would go up and be like, can I have your numbers? Can I contact you? Can we meet outside of this? So we had a program with Deloitte at high school. It started in grade 10. So I wanted to go to UCT. I wanted to go to UCT to do bachelor. I think it's business science. There are BX side, there's BX side and there's business side. So I wanted to do business science. So while we were at that Deloitte thing, it was like it was a week where we went there, and the trainees would come and teach us maths, they would teach us accounting. So I knew one of the trainees who went to UP, and then I told him that, I actually want to go to UCT. Then he introduced me to my current mentor. And then I was like, okay, this is what I want. I want to go to UCT. And she was like, okay, cool, I'll help you out. Then she helped me out with the applications, and I didn't get into UCT for whatever reasons. I'm a UCT reject. They rejected me, and I told her, I was like, yo, they rejected me, and she was actually there for me. And after that, somehow I would ask her for help, like with accounting, and she would actually invite me to her place, her house, and be like, you can come. She would literally fetch me at a convenient place and take me to her place. And she would actually help me with the accounting stuff. And then she would drop me off. So for me, I think that's also one of the things that inspired me to be the kind of mentor that I am now, because I don't mind giving as much as I can. If I'm able to, I'll definitely give, because I've been given. So it's only fair for me to give as much as I can. So yeah, I think that's how she became my mentor, because that was in grade 11. Grade 12, she was there. She helped me out. I passed. I told her that I passed. I told her that I'm going to vets.
Wow.
She was there. I think we became really, really close when I failed my third year. That's when she was like, hey, I can't believe you failed and I was here and you didn't even say anything, because I was also that person who wouldn't say anything because I didn't want to bother her. Then that's when from third year we became really close, because she was like, hi, this really can't happen on my watch. Why didn't you say anything? So yeah, that's how it happened. I think it was one of those things where she just became my mentor.
Yeah.
We never really said, you are my mentor.
Sure.
She just became that thing that you are my mentor. And yeah, she's still my mentor even now.
That's so beautiful, That's very beautiful. I'm a big fan of organic things. I don't know not organic as in food, but one thing. I think I love everything organic.
Vegetables. Fruits and veg.
Yeah, but I even appreciate, friendships just that just come about like that, whereby it's just not, it's effortless, like it's not forced, it's really not really like, but for some reason you just gel, and the next thing you're like, oh, okay, we're friends, but we never spoke about it, like, you know.
Yeah.
So that's very beautiful that actually you and your mentor actually came along in that way. That's like very, very beautiful. So your mentor is a lady, you know.
She is.
I was reading a paper actually on mentorship in one of these journals. I forgot the title, because you know how academic papers are. They have these big titles, and you know, you just go in and look for, you know, read and see what. So I read the abstract, and the paper actually was on mentorship. I think they were doing a research on mentorship, but they were looking at how does gender impact, you know, mentorship. And what they actually found was that mentors actually benefited more in same-sex mentorship structures, other than cross-sex mentorship structures, you know. So it appears as though if you're being mentored by, you know, a lady or someone of the same gender as you, you can actually benefit more from that, because you know how it goes. It always gets into personal things, you know, like the next thing you're asking, like, hey, you know, like, hey, this is happening in my life, what's happening, and they're able to dish it out, and which even makes it, even the mentorship to the relationship to be much more connected and everything like that. In a case of different genders, you know, how do you see that? And do you think, would you advise someone to be like, no, don't go for, you know, maybe find someone, because sometimes you find that there is a shortage. You find that maybe, especially if maybe you're doing something which is, I mean, one of the things that you guys talked about, I think it was Mpuki who was saying that she's in a male-dominated sector, you know, so there is really difficult maybe to find a female who is there who can mentor them. So you find that the only options you have is males, and that's what you need to go on with. So what are the issues on gender? Because I feel like there's some issues, you know, sometimes boundaries are crossed, and how do you think we can navigate around that?
That's tough for me, because I have mentees who are males and females, and there's not really I mean, except for the fact that with the females, we probably talk about things that you wouldn't talk with a male.
Sure.
But yeah, but other than that, I'm not seeing any issues. But the issue is, if you want to get into, like you mentioned, with the male-dominated industry, I do believe it's best to find a mentor who is female, like you're saying, gender, because then they can help you navigate it better. Because you can imagine, if you're getting into a male-dominated industry, and you don't have any female like helping you through it or guiding you through it, it would become difficult for you to be able to navigate it. So I think even if you are going to get into corporate, it really does make sense to get a female mentor who is like in corporate, because there's also gender issues in corporate, and they can help you navigate it. They can share their experiences. You can actually go to them, and this is what I've experienced, because you know there's inequalities, gender inequalities in corporate as well. So I think at a level where you're still in school and you're still in varsity and you're not looking into life after varsity, I think the gender thing is not that much of an issue. But once you're looking at life post varsity, where you're going to get into industries which they check, is this male dominated, is this female dominated, then it might be necessary for you to get someone who is the same gender as you, so that they can help you navigate it.
Yeah. You know, sometimes the way I look at things, I'm like, I feel like versatility, you know? Versatility, because I have this lady that she's very good on spiritual things, you know. So our relationship is one of those, like the relationship that you have with your mentor. She's my mentor. She doesn't know, you know. But you know, like, you know, it was one of those things that was not defined, but you know. And every time when I speak to her, like, I'm a guy, right? and a perspective of a lady sometimes just like you need that perspective, because I don't know, I think the way we're wired as a guy, my mind is wired in a certain way than a certain lady. So I'm like, actually it's not that bad. Actually, it's not even bad. You can have a mentor as a lady who can really help you in a lot of things that you just like, oh, I didn't see it this way. I mean, well, for her, like, it is very funny because, she would give me, like, there's certain things that, as a guy, you don't know, like some girl codes. Of course, you're a guy. You don't know that. She would tell me, oh, no, if it's like this, it means like this. And I'm like, oh, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm a lady, I know. I'm like, oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, wow, I find this helpful because otherwise, like, you know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
so I don't think it's all that bad, but obviously I think, and I feel like people should be free, man. It's just that, of course, sometimes, because I remember I once ran this mentorship program for this other organization, and the issue we had, especially on the gender issues, that you had, now the boys trying to take advantage of the ADs. Now you have those kind of things, and we even resorted to like having group mentoring now, like grouping them together, and it was just based on cost and everything like that. So sometimes, those issues happen. Let's talk about the power dynamics in a mentorship relationship, or in a mentorship program, because the way I was thinking about it from this perspective, right? When you do postgrad, you have a supervisor. So a supervisor is more like, is your mentor, but beyond that, because they're involved in your research and all of those type of things. And I found that there is this power dynamic, especially with supervisors, that they, especially academics in general, I find that, some of them, they try to just shove things at you, like, this is how you do it, and everything like that. Maybe you come up with another way, or you have this other method, or everything like that. They just want it to be done in a certain way. And because of the power dynamics, you need this person so that you can qualify or graduate and everything like that. So there is that power dynamics there. So in a mentorship as well, I believe that someone can also be immersed and be swept away by the power dynamics. I mean, if I'm being mentored by, like, the CEO of Deloitte, and I'm a first year, I respect this person so much, obviously because of their position as well, and because of I'm actually trying to follow in their footstep. So if you find a mentor who's not good, you can end up like also being not good, because you're just following everything. You don't have time to reflect and be like, but is this what I want? Is this how I want to go about it? You trust this person so much that you believe that whatever they say you must do because they're more experienced than you and everything like that. So how should people or mentees, how should they be aware of those, and how should they then carry themselves in that kind of in a kind of situation?
I think it goes back to the objective, like having a clear objective of what you want from the mentorship. Because immediately when you're not sure what you want, you are bound to fall into those traps of doing things that you're not supposed to be doing. So it's important to actually realize that, okay, I'm in this mentorship because this is what I want, and maybe make it clear with the mentor so that you're on the same page. And if it doesn't work out, it's okay to like peace out and find another mentor. It's not like being with, like I said, just because you've been mentored by a CEO doesn't mean you're going to be a CEO. So it's not like you leaving that CEO, it's gonna mean that you're not going to be a CEO. But with like structured mentorships, like with VMP, what do we do to make sure that everyone is sort of like on the same page as we follow a guideline, like a mentorship guideline, which has to guide the mentor as to what is it that they're supposed to do. Anything that they do over and above is obviously up to them. But there's also like rules in place. Like, for example, as a mentor, you can't date the mentee because obviously you're old, you're in varsity, you're dating someone who's in high school. It's easy for you to take advantage of them. So I think also having, if it's a structured mentorship program, having some structure in place like documents, contracts, guidelines that the mentors and the mentees can use, especially to protect the mentee, because they are the ones who are most likely to be taken advantage of. But from like with when you are saying all this, I thought of how my mentor would say something to me and be like, no, you shouldn't do this. And I would be like, hey, must I want to do it? This doesn't make sense. And then a few months later, I'm like, no, she was actually right. So for me, it's that thing of my mentor is always right.
Right.
Whatever she says, she's always right. So sometimes I think as a mentee, you would look at it as, hi, you don't understand. Like, you're not in the same position as I am. Like, you wouldn't understand. Like, we're not the same. But it's also, I think it's also hard because it's not always that you would find a mentor who wants what's best for you, but most of the times your mentor wants what's best for you. So maybe also consider that they may not be trying to abuse their power or anything like that when they tell you that this is what you should actually do. They're trying to guide you because they've been there and they have experience. It's just something that is a bit hard to navigate around because you wouldn't know if they have good intentions or what. But if it has been a long-term relationship, you know that if they say something, it means they actually mean well. And because of past experiences, you definitely just have to follow through it. So yeah, that is my experience with my mentor. She's always right. I don't even argue with anything now. If she says something, I'm like, okay, right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I think because it comes with experience, you know, like I think because as a mentor, I think you need to be very experienced. And sometimes you find that, you know, you want something as a mentee, but because of your understanding is still not that widespread, you know, you don't have a lot of experience or you haven't seen much around that area, then your decisions are not learned. You know, and I meant because some of them, they're very experienced, they're exposed even and everything like that. So they know it might wrap in a different way, but I think what you're saying is that, you know, sometimes like the way I think from following from what you're saying, I think is a trust kind of a relation. Like you get to a point where I trust you, that you won't lead me astray, obviously. Yeah. I trust that you have my best interest at heart and everything. So even if you differ with me, but because I have that trust, I trust that actually your decision is going to lead me to where I want to go.
There's also that when I speak to my mentees, I try, as it's not easy to not let my personal preferences and things that I would normally do get in the way. So if it's advice that is purely based on what I would do, I do say that this is what I would do. But you don't really need to do something like this. But if it is something that is a bit on there and I can see that, no, this is definitely what you should be doing, then that is when I'll be like, okay, I think we should do this. But also I don't force whatever that I say to the mentee. And if I tell them something and they don't do it, and tomorrow they come and they're like, this is what happened because I didn't do advice, I'm not going to be like, yeah, I told you, you did not listen to me. I just understand that at the end of the day, we're human and we are still learning, and we are definitely not going to, we're not going to listen to everyone. We're going to need to learn from the advices that we never took. So I try by all means to not let my personal views and the things that I would do to get in the way of the relationship.
Yeah, I think you have said a mouthful, especially on mentorship. I feel like right now, you know, I feel like I can be a good mentee. I've learned a lot. And I think I can be a good mentor as well. In the mentorship things that I mean, I think I'll actually use some of what you have said, actually, that I picked from this session. In closing, you know, look, we can go on and on, you know, but I respect people's time. I don't want next time I'm like, hey, because I need you for conference scripted, you know, I've been telling you this. So I don't want now the next time to be like, this one takes time. You know, but we can talk a lot about mentorship and just taking from your expertise, because I think your experience in that regard, it can be very helpful to other people. Just in closing, what advice can you give to, the academic year has started. We've seen some protests that have been happening. Unfortunately, this happens every year, but it means that people are not really trying to solve issues, people in the leadership there. So the academic year started, and I'm sure the people that are new to the university space, and stuff like that, students in general, what advice can you give to students in closing?
Just don't forget why you are where you are. So don't forget where you come from. Whatever, in everything that's happening, don't forget where you come from. Whatever decision that you make, don't forget where you come from. And consider how whatever you're doing is going to impact you and the consequences of whatever actions that you are going to take. But in general, with the online learning and everything, just take it a day at a time. I can imagine it's not easy. Just take it a day at a time. Try and surround yourself with people, not like physical people, but have some support, so that when things are overwhelming for you, you have someone to go to and be like, "Yo, this is so hard, I don't know how to do it." Because for most of the students, it's new. I don't think there's anyone who has like proper experience on how to go through with things like online learning. So just try and lean on each other. Don't isolate yourself. Don't be like, I'm just gonna do this alone. I'm at home. I don't need to see anyone. I'm just gonna log onto my classes and then I'm gonna study. It's going to catch up with you. It's gonna affect your mental health. So just try as much as you can to lean in onto people who are around you, onto people whom you have access to, so that you can get the necessary support that you can get in order to like move forward.
What an outro. I felt like I shouldn't stop you. Like, you should go on. Look, man, you're an inspiration. I'm a big fan of your work. I really love what you guys do and what you do. And to start at that early age to do that, I think the world needs more of versatiles. Not only one, but thank you for gracing us with your time at this platform. I'm definitely sure that people will take a lot from this, and I'll put in the details of your website, www.Versatile Mentorship, I think your Facebook pages and everything like that. So all of those things will appear on the screen for people to go and check. But otherwise, it was great to have you here. StudentPlug with Tshegofatso Mokwena. Okay.